Welcome to the Stoic Golden Tribe, the place where modern men reclaim their power, where emotional discipline replaces emotional chaos, and where we teach the ancient truths modern society refuses to tell men. Before we begin, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every week we drop life-changing wisdom that strengthens your mind, your presence, and your masculinity. Join the brotherhood. Don't just watch. Become part of the tribe. Today's message is for every man who has ever felt ignored or disrespected by the woman he loves. Because when your wife stops respecting you, it doesn't start with something dramatic. It starts with small things you overlook because you just want peace. A dismissive tone, a cold response, her acting like your presence no longer matters. Most men react with anger or emotional frustration, but that only destroys respect even more. Because the moment you lose control of yourself, you lose the authority she once admired. But today, I will show you a different path. A path built on calm power, masculine stability, and the kind of inner strength that commands respect without shouting, begging, or chasing. When your wife ignores you or disrespects you, you don't react emotionally. You don't argue, you don't collapse. You respond like a man who knows his worth. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to do that. Chapter 1. When a woman pulls away, your power begins in your mind. When a woman begins to disrespect you, when she ignores you, dismisses your presence, or treats your feelings like background noise, it rarely happens out of nowhere. It begins subtly. A tone you tolerate, a comment you shrug off, a behavior you excuse because you don't want drama. But here is the truth. Every time you ignore disrespect, you teach her how to treat you. Women don't just wake up and lose respect. They observe a man slowly abandoning his own authority. They watch him. Avoid confrontation just to keep the peace. Apologize even when he isn't wrong. Let things slide just to avoid her mood. Put her comfort above his dignity. Give more affection than he receives. Speak softly while she speaks sharply. Try harder while she gives less. And slowly, something shifts inside her. She stops seeing him as a leader and starts seeing him as a follower. A woman's respect does not disappear with one moment. It drains slowly, drip by drip, through every small boundary you fail to enforce. And eventually, she starts treating you in a way that reflects how you've been treating yourself. Carelessly, emotionally, recklessly, without urgency, without fear of consequences. That is when the ignoring begins. That is when the sharp tone appears. That is when the eye-rolling starts. That is when she speaks to you like a man she doesn't admire anymore. And most men make the mistake of responding with anger, lectures, complaints, emotional outbursts, begging for affection, trying to talk it out endlessly. But here is the masculine truth. You cannot talk your way into respect. You can only behave your way into it. And this starts with your mindset. A weak mindset reacts with emotion. A disciplined mindset responds with authority. When she pulls away, you pull back into yourself. Not out of pettiness, but out of power. You become harder to access. You become more focused on your purpose. You stop chasing emotional validation. You stop rewarding disrespect with attention. You stop explaining yourself repeatedly. You stop trying to fix her emotions. You reclaim your inner kingdom. And here is the fascinating part. The moment you stop trying to get her attention, she suddenly becomes aware of the value of your presence. She feels the emotional silence. She feels the absence of your validation. She feels the shift in your energy. She feels the loss of control she once had. And women feel that silence more deeply than any argument. Because when a man becomes quiet and calm, not cold, not angry, not passive-aggressive, but centered, composed, and emotionally unavailable, to disrespect. She senses a power she hasn't felt in a long time. She starts to ask herself, why is he so calm? Why isn't he reacting? Why does it feel like I'm losing him? What changed inside him? Did I push him too far? What is he thinking? Why does he suddenly feel stronger? This is where your power truly begins. Not by raising your voice, but by raising your standards. Not by demanding respect, but by embodying the man who gets it naturally. When you stop responding to disrespect with emotion and start responding with silence, self-control, and distance, the entire dynamic of the relationship shifts back in your favor. Because a woman will always test a man's emotional stability, but she will always love a man she cannot break. This chapter is about building that unbreakable mindset, because without it, nothing else will work. Your transformation starts inside. Comment below. Have you ever noticed your power increase when you stopped reacting emotionally? Chapter 2. Don't react emotionally. Respond with structure. When a woman ignores you, when she disrespects you, when she gives you short answers, cold energy, or silent treatment, most men fall into the same trap. They react emotionally. They raise their voice, they complain, they question her, they seek reassurance, they try to fix everything immediately. But you must understand this: a woman's disrespect is not solved with emotion. It is solved with leadership. And leadership begins with structure. Women are emotional by nature. Emotions come in waves, sometimes soft, sometimes violent, sometimes unpredictable. A man's role in the storm is not to panic, but to anchor, to stand firm, stable, grounded, unshakable. Most men fail here because they allow a woman's emotional movement to move them too. When she gets cold, they get desperate. When she gets disrespectful, they get angry. When she ignores them, they start chasing. But a man who reacts emotionally becomes a man she can control emotionally. Read that again. A man ruled by emotion becomes a man she cannot respect. Women don't test your strength nearly as much as they test your emotional discipline. They want to see, can you stay calm when triggered? Can you stay rational when she becomes chaotic? Can you hold your frame when she tries to pull you out of it? Can you remain composed when her behavior is confusing or cold? Can you maintain leadership without raising your voice? Can you be the calm in the storm instead of becoming part of the storm? Most men fail because they try to match her emotion. But masculinity is not about matching emotions, it's about guiding them. And here is the rule: reacting is feminine. Structure is masculine. When she disrespects you or ignores you, the weak reaction is arguing, complaining, over-explaining, begging, seeking validation, getting sensitive, trying to talk it out for hours. But the masculine response is this: you calmly establish structure, not by force, not by dominance, not by shouting, but by direction. A simple, firm, emotionally controlled statement like, I'm not going to continue this conversation in this tone. When you're ready to communicate respectfully, I'm here. Then you walk away, not in anger, not in silence to punish her, not to manipulate her, but because you refuse to participate in disrespectful communication. This does three things. One, it shows her your boundaries are real. Most men talk about boundaries but never enforce them. A boundary without enforcement is a wish, not a standard. Two, it disrupts her emotional pattern. She expects you to react emotionally. She expects you to argue. She expects you to defend yourself. Your calmness forces her to confront her own behavior. Three, it rebuilds the masculine-feminine polarity. When a woman becomes chaotic, she subconsciously wants the man to bring structure, not dominance, not control. Structure. Structure creates safety. Safety creates respect. Respect creates attraction. And attraction creates harmony. But here is the deeper psychological truth. A woman can only relax into her feminine energy when she feels her man is firmly rooted in his masculine energy. If you are easily triggered, she cannot trust your leadership. If you lose control, she cannot trust your strength. If you become emotional because of her emotion, you become a mirror, not a leader. This is why structure is so powerful. When you say, "I'm not engaging like this, I'll be in the other room, talk to me when you're calm," you do something extremely rare. You take control without force. You lead without aggression. You stay present without abandoning yourself. You show strength without raising your voice. And women respect that more than anything, not because you scare her, but because you ground her. Your calmness becomes the lighthouse in her emotional ocean. Your silence becomes the structure her emotions bounce against. Your composure becomes the example she subconsciously follows. And here's what usually happens next. She starts softening. She starts reflecting. She starts feeling guilty. She starts realizing she crossed a line. She starts approaching you. She starts correcting her own tone. She starts wanting to reconnect. She starts respecting you more. Why? Because you didn't collapse. You didn't explode. You didn't argue emotionally. You didn't chase validation. You enforced structure. And women respond to structure far more than they respond to emotion. Here is the deepest truth of this entire chapter. A woman's respect is not lost when you show emotion. It is lost when you show you cannot control emotion. Control creates authority. Authority creates respect. Respect creates attraction. And attraction creates the kind of relationship a man actually wants: peaceful, balanced, mutual, respectful, focused, loving. If you want to change her behavior, you don't change her, you change the structure of how you respond to her behavior. That is masculine leadership. That is what brings order back into the relationship. And that is what makes her look at you differently again. Comment below. Do you believe staying calm under pressure is a man's greatest superpower? Chapter 3. Reclaim your presence. Through action, not words, when a man feels ignored, dismissed, or unappreciated by his wife, his first instinct is almost always the same. He tries to talk his way back into respect. He explains, he argues, he reminds her of everything he does. He tries to make her see his side. He pours out his feelings, hoping she will care. But the harsh truth is this: a woman does not respect a man who tries to convince her of his value. She respects a man who embodies his value. Words do not restore respect. Arguments do not restore respect. Long conversations do not restore respect. Presence restores respect. Action restores respect. Self-improvement restores respect. Distance restores respect. Strength restores respect. If she has grown comfortable disrespecting you, it is because your life has stopped demanding her respect. You have become too available, too predictable, too easy to reach, too emotionally open with a woman who is emotionally closed. This is why Chapter 3 is the turning point, because here you stop focusing on her behavior and start focusing on your evolution. Let's go deep. 1. The man who improves himself changes the entire relationship dynamic. A woman may argue with your words, but she cannot argue with your growth. When she sees you getting physically stronger, becoming mentally sharper, becoming more disciplined, building your income, working on your purpose, setting boundaries, speaking with intention, becoming more focused, becoming less reactive, becoming more spiritually grounded, something inside her changes. Your improvement triggers a deep primal instinct in her. Respect, attention, attraction, awareness, curiosity, fear of loss. Not fear of losing you to another woman. That's secondary. It's fear of losing access to the man you are becoming. Women do not chase men who stand still. They chase men who move. Men with direction, men with vision, men with momentum. A man evolving is a man a woman instinctively wants to follow. 2. A woman who ignores you suddenly remembers you when you glow up. When you stop the emotional conversations and you start leveling up, your energy changes, you start carrying yourself differently. Your voice becomes calmer and deeper. Your walk becomes slower and more intentional. Your presence becomes heavier, more grounded. Your silence becomes meaningful, not empty. Your distance becomes powerful, not petty. Women feel a man's energy before they hear his words. And when your energy transforms, she cannot ignore it. She begins to watch you more, listen to you more, question your behavior, wonder why you're calm, notice the changes, realize you're not the same man, feel your absence even when you're present. This is because your growth forces her to self-reflect. Instead of thinking, why is he reacting like this? She begins thinking, why am I acting like this? Have I pushed him too far? Is he starting to detach from me? Is he becoming someone I don't know anymore? Why does he seem stronger, colder, more focused? It shakes her, it wakes her up, it forces her to look at her own behavior. And this shift is created not by talking, but by improving. 3. Your mission must be stronger than your marriage. One of the most powerful truths men fail to understand. Women respect men who belong to something bigger than the relationship. If your life revolves around her, she loses respect. If her emotions dictate your mood, she loses respect. If you stop growing because you're trying to please her, she loses respect. But when you build a life with structure, a life with goals, routines, ambitions, and discipline, you create a gravitational pull she cannot escape. When a woman sees you building your body, your finances, your purpose, your leadership, your confidence, your spiritual grounding, your independence, your emotional control, your lifestyle, she stops seeing you as her emotional caretaker and starts seeing you as a man with gravity, a man whose presence demands acknowledgement. Women are drawn to men who live life with momentum. When your mission grows bigger, she stops ignoring you. Because a woman cannot ignore a man who refuses to ignore his own destiny. 4. Attraction comes back. When she feels you could walk away at any time, not because you're planning to, not because you threaten her, not because you're done with her, but because your life is too full, too focused, and too disciplined for disrespect. A man who is growing, evolving, leveling up, expanding, building, advancing, becoming stronger, is a man who silently communicates, I want you, but I don't need you. That energy changes everything. Women chase men who have something to lose. Women defend relationships with men who are rising. Women correct their behavior when they feel a man's value increasing. Why? Because deep down she knows the truth. If you keep improving, you will eventually outgrow the version of her that disrespects you. And no woman wants to be left behind by a man who is becoming greater. This fear, the fear of losing access to your future, is what pulls her back into the relationship with humility, respect, and softness. 5. Your evolution forces her to evolve or get left behind. When you upgrade your life, you create a natural challenge. She must either rise to meet your new standard or stay the same and lose her place in your life. And deep inside, a woman knows this. This is why your growth influences her more than lectures ever will. She begins to respect you again, adjust her tone, seek your attention, value your presence, feel attracted again, become more cooperative, become more feminine, try harder without being asked. You didn't force anything, you didn't beg for anything, you didn't argue for anything. You simply became a man she no longer wanted to lose. That is real power, that is masculine leadership. That is how you reclaim respect without saying a word. The real secret of this chapter: a woman does not return because you explain your worth. She returns because you become your worth. A man's improvement is a woman's reminder. A man's silence is a woman's mirror. A man's growth is a woman's wake-up call. Your mission is the cure for her disrespect and the foundation of your self-respect. Comment below. What is one area of your life you will start improving today? Chapter 4. The masculine boundary that changes everything. This is the hardest truth most men will ever face. Respect is not given, it is enforced. Love is not enough to maintain respect. And peace without boundaries becomes weakness. When a wife ignores you, dismisses you, or disrespects you repeatedly, you must understand something critical. If she continues to cross your line, you must be willing to walk away, emotionally, mentally, and if necessary, physically. Not angrily, not in panic, not in fear, but with calm clarity. 1. Boundaries are the backbone of respect. Most men fear setting boundaries because they think it will push her away. Here is the truth every man must embrace. A man who cannot set boundaries is a man who cannot command respect. A man who cannot enforce his rules is a man who becomes a doormat. A man who tolerates disrespect becomes a man whose presence is undervalued. Boundaries are not threats. Boundaries are statements of self-respect. They are your declaration: I will not allow disrespect. I will not tolerate being ignored. I will not sacrifice my peace for anyone's mood. When she sees a man enforcing boundaries without anger or pleading, it shakes her. Not because she fears him, but because she respects him. 2. Calm detachment speaks louder than words. Imagine this: your wife is cold. She ignores your calls. She dismisses your words. You feel the urge to shout, to plead, to explain yourself. Stop. Instead, take a step back. Detach calmly. Do not respond to her chaos. Do not chase her attention. Do not argue about your feelings. Your calmness becomes a mirror. She sees a man who values himself more than her mood swings. She feels the absence of a man she cannot control. She experiences the tension of her behavior having consequences. Women respond to presence and absence, not arguments. Your calm detachment is the ultimate demonstration of authority. 3. The threat of walking away creates respect. A man's ultimate power is his willingness to walk away. This is not manipulation. This is truth in action. When a woman senses that a man is emotionally anchored, that he will not bend to her disrespect, that he will not chase validation, that he has his own life, purpose, and mission, something shifts inside her. She begins to reflect on her behavior. She begins to question her choices. She begins to respect him again. She begins to chase the attention she once dismissed, because women inherently respect men who value themselves more than their approval. 4. Polarity, masculine strength meets feminine energy. A relationship without polarity dies slowly. Polarity exists when a man stands firm, a woman embraces her femininity, respect, attraction, and desire are maintained through clear boundaries. When you enforce boundaries calmly, your energy becomes magnetic. She feels your stability, she feels your authority, she feels your presence, she feels the tension of missing you. Polarity forces her to either step up or step aside. It forces her to reflect, adjust, and value the man she once took for granted. Without it, relationships stagnate, respect disappears, love becomes convenience, attraction fades, boundaries restore balance, polarity restores attraction, calm strength restores respect. 5. The masculine man leads. Without fighting. Here is the ultimate lesson. You do not need to fight her. You do not need to lecture her. You do not need to beg for respect. You enforce your rules. You maintain your peace. You improve yourself. You uphold your boundaries. And the woman responds. She softens. She respects. She admires. She becomes emotionally available. She becomes cooperative. She becomes more feminine. She reconnects with you, not because you forced her, not because you shouted, not because you punished her, but because you became the man she cannot control, the man she cannot ignore, the man she must respect. And the final truth of chapter 4, a man who does not enforce boundaries becomes invisible in his own life. A man who does not command respect loses attraction. A man who fears walking away teaches a woman she can disregard him. The masculine man knows his worth, protects his peace, holds firm without emotion, improves himself relentlessly, is willing to walk away from disrespect. And that willingness, calm, composed, and firm, is what restores respect, reignites attraction, and brings harmony back to the relationship. Comment below, are you ready to enforce boundaries and reclaim your respect in your marriage? If you found wisdom, clarity, or power in this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Stoic Golden Tribe, the home for men who refuse weakness, choose discipline over drama, and build unshakable lives. Drop a comment below and tell me which chapter spoke to your spirit the most today. Remember, a man who controls himself controls his world. A man who enforces boundaries commands respect. A man who improves himself inspires attraction. Stay strong, stay disciplined, stay unshakable.